And so I admit them as they come in?
I'll do that.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to worry about anything.
Okay, awesome.
We're ready to get started anytime.
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Cole Brandt, and I am recently from Madison, Wisconsin. And I am a new instructor at Northside Music Academy. And today I'm going to go through some varying styles of music in order to kind of get a feel for what you guys might like. If at any point during any of the songs you feel, oh, wow, that interests me, and you want to know more about it, I would encourage you to ask. We'll kind of have like a Q&A after if there's anything that you're really interested in. First of all, I want to say I hope everyone is safe and healthy in this pandemic because it can be kind of scary, and I hope you are with your families. So I'm going to start off by playing a few different pieces in different styles. Some background about myself. I studied jazz guitar and Spanish literature at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. And I lived in Madison for 2 years, and I performed, produced, and taught there. And I am in transition to Chicago, and I will be moving there shortly. So what to start with? So this first piece is something that's kind of a pop flavored style. As you can see, I study a lot of jazz and classical, so you hear that in my music. So I hope you guys enjoy this kind of little pop montage of music. There's some Daft Punk and some Michael Jackson, so I hope you guys enjoy it. was Michael Jackson's hit song, Human Nature. And on that song, I did a lot of things. So I did some improvisation, which means that you kind of are speaking musical language, which is a really great way to express yourself musically. And I tried to incorporate a lot of different styles. So in that, you heard some jazz in there, which one of my greatest inspirations is a guy named Wes Montgomery. So I kind of use a lot of his lines in my improvisation, you know. Try and combine that in there, as well as classical, the kind of Bach styling. So mixing those all together. So I have another short song for you guys. Hope you're enjoying it. There's a group called Daft Punk, and they are very well known in kind of electronic music. They had a very popular hit song about 5 or 6 years ago called Get Lucky. So I'm going to play some of that, and I'm going to incorporate some of the jazzy ideas in there. And then after that, we'll kind of keep going through different genres of music, and then I'll open it up to you guys to ask me some questions about it. So this is Daft Punk's Get Lucky. I hope you guys enjoy what you hear. was Daft Punk's Get Lucky, or my arrangement of it. And so like the other song that you heard, one of my favorite things to do is take a bunch of different styles. In that you heard, like before, jazz, using some of the thumb, which is very popular in an artist named Wes Montgomery. And so there's a lot of different ways you can play the guitar. You see people sometimes using picks to, scientists will call this an exciter because it creates a noise. Another approach is, you have finger style. Here's a popular song. Or another popular. And that those respectively were Dust in the Wind by Kansas and oh man, Dust in the Wind, and Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. And that's kind of folk rock style. So if that interests you, we can definitely have some sessions on that. All right, let's see what else. Yes, and in there, the thumb is an important part of playing too, because guys like Wes Montgomery will use his thumb, and you can see right here, this is what we're gonna do. And there you kind of get more of a mellow, jazzy kind of tone, and that's something else that I specialize in. Like I said before, I studied jazz guitar as my area of focus in my university days. So let's see, what else do we have here? Some other styles. So something else that interests me greatly are Latin styles as well. One of the groups I'm into is a group called Gypsy Kings. And in there, they have a lot of flamenco influence, and which stems from classical guitar. So now we'll kind of segue into some other guitar styles. And so for this one right here, let's actually pull out a new guitar. So 1 second. Oops, sorry about that. So, on the style that we're about to see, it's going to involve some classical and flamenco styles. And on that, it involves some percussion from the fingers and a different type of style with the right hand, because now I'll switch back to using a pick, but on a traditional kind of flamenco pattern, you really want to get that percussive sound from your nails. So let's try something out. in there you saw a lot of different styles and kind of a mixture of things going on there. I used my fingers for part of it in a traditional classical finger style. Let's see, do I have any, let me check. I have a request of some kid-friendly songs. Let me see what I have here in my book of classical guitar. Into our library. All right. So here's a popular one. Oh, it looks like we are out of tune a little bit. So we're going to steal the tuner from the other guitar. My apologies. When the weather is humid outside, what happens are the guitar strings will go out of tune very easily. Because what happens when it gets warmer and humid, the wood absorbs the moisture, it kind of stretches out a bit, just kind of like my hair, if you can tell, it keeps getting bigger and bigger as the session goes on. All right. Okay. All right. So I see that a lot of you have guitars and are waiting for some instruction. So right now, we're going to take a look at our first guitar instruction lesson. And I'll hopefully teach you a few things before you leave today. So I'm going to, before I share my screen with you, I'm going to demonstrate a few concepts that I think that are really important starting off at the guitar. So the first one. So if you have a guitar like this is a nylon string guitar. So the strings are a bit different than the guitar you saw me play previously. Those strings are steel strings and going to be a little more aggressive to your fingers, and this is going to be a little softer. And notice how the sound is a little bit softer there. So I'm going to be talking on a nylon string guitar right now, and then I'll switch over and kind of talk about a steel string and how the differences would go. All right, so when you're using a nylon string guitar, a lot of people will have it kind of sitting up like this and have kind of a footstool, so it's nice and propped up. And a great way to start is relaxing your arm down and then bringing your hand up and then letting your other hand fall, your right hand, this hand, fall down, and then bring it back up so you have a nice comfortable position like that. And so I'm going to show you one thing here, and then I'm going to pull out an electric guitar and show you there for those of you who have electric guitars. So I just want to make sure that every type of guitar, you guys know how to get the first start. So, and electric guitar players and steel string players, you can take a look at this because this will apply to you too. So the first thing that we're going to try is we're going to take our ring finger here, which is in guitar language, you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And for those of you who have taken some piano, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But this one is 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now there's a sneaky one here. This guy is thumb, or in Spanish, because a lot of guitars in Spanish is pulgar, so it'll be labeled P. Or in a lot of English versions of textbooks, things like that, it'll be called T. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our ring finger right here, and we're going to push down on this 3rd fret. And so how do you know what fret to look at? Well, you can just count 1, 2, 3. And so it may look like you're supposed to put your fingers here on the fret, but if we do that, that doesn't sound too good. No. Nope. No. So how do you get it to sound good? Well, what you want to do is you want to put it between the 2 frets like such and push down. And so for those of you who have I see some of you out there have a classical style guitar. So if you have a classical style guitar, you're going to want to push not as hard. And I'll switch to electric in just 1 second. And so to finish this, if you have an electric or a steel string, you're going to want to push a little bit harder. Otherwise, you'll get this sound that kind of sounds kind of like mush. But for those of you who have classical guitar, a little bit lighter. Those of you who don't, a little bit more aggressive on the hold. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take your thumb and you're going to strum the top 3 strings. And now it's counterintuitive, but the top 3 strings are actually these ones in the direction of down. And why are they the top strings? It's because they sound higher. Their pitch is higher. Even though they're lower in the direction, the cardinal direction of down, they're still higher to the sound. Because if you go down here, this is higher, right? So now you're going to strum these first 3 strings like such. And you're going to get a nice sound like that. And if it sounds kind of mushy, make sure you want to have all your fingers out of the way. You only want this ring finger on the 3rd fret. And so here I will switch guitars real quick so you can hear it on something more like your own guitar. So let's switch over to our steel string. And this will be the same. This will be the same as an electric guitar. It's kind of, it's set up the same as far as the strings. It's a little more, takes a little more effort to push down. But, sorry, I'm getting all these pop-ups about updating my computer. First lesson, I guess, you're supposed to keep your computer up to date. Whoops. Okay, so on an electric style guitar, what we want to do is have, same as before, our ring finger there, 3rd fret, but now we want to push just a little bit harder than those with the classical or nylon string guitar. We can strum right there. Get that nice, clear sound. And so the thing about these chords is they are put together to make more full chords. So you put those together to get even more full voices, but this is a great first step in learning chords. And so what is the definition of a chord? A chord is when you put 2 notes together. And so if we have 2 notes together, it is a dyad, which di meaning 2, right? Because we have mono, di, tri, quad, and all, and quint, and all those lovely names for numbers of things, right? And so di means 2, so dyad. Well, a triad would be 3 notes, right? And so this is our first. And so for those of you who have a classical guitar, you can use your thumb, and the thumb will be strummed like that. You can do it on an electric guitar too. And for those of you who have an electric guitar and have a pick, I don't know if we've talked about hold a pick, but you'll see me holding my pick very strange. I hold my pick like this. And the reason is because this kind of resembles a jazz pick, which are very expensive. But if you do the same with just a regular heavy pick, you can get the same kind of warm effect. But I would encourage you to hold your pick like this. It's a great way to kind of start with that. So if you're wondering how to hold your pick, you just kind of like you're doing a thumbs up, and you want to, if you've ever seen those like waffle log cabins, you know how people put a toothpick in them. Well, you want to make it like a little flag right there at your log cabin fort building with Lincoln Logs or whatever. So thumbs up, and then you got your flag, and then you bring in nice and relaxed with your pointer finger, and then here you can kind of anchor, take these 3 fingers, kind of anchor yourself. That way you don't constantly have to look down all the time at what's going on with your hand. You just know exactly where everything is, and it's kind of coming from the wrist. You don't want to use your elbow, so to speak, because you can get some carpal tunnel, which is not fun. So, all right, so we have that going for us. And so if you're wondering, well, there's so many other frets here, I want to experiment around with that. So something that you can do is so let's learn another chord. So we're going to take our pointer finger, which is this one right here, number 1 in guitar. So, and we're going to put it on the first fret. So this was our third fret. This is our second fret. And now this is our first. And we want to put our pointer finger right there. Sorry, I'm getting a robocall. Sorry about that. And so right here, we're putting it on our first fret. And so that will give us, those three strings right there, will give us a G7. And so these are two chords that are really fun, and you can even practice going back and forth. So the first chord we learned was G. Now the second chord we learned was G7. And for those of you who are very experienced or maybe a little bit older with the guitar, some things that we can talk about are what makes a G, difference between a G and a G7. So this is for those of you who are a little more advanced. So a G major is just a triad, which is G, B, D, 1, 3, 5, right? And then a G7 is 1, 3, 5, 7. Excuse my awful singing, right there. So that's the difference between a G major chord and a G7 chord. And what you're playing right there, for those of you who are kind of new to the guitar, that is a G chord and that is a G7. And so you're probably saying, well, you play these huge chords, they can't possibly be the same. Well, here, take a listen. G, the G we talked about. And then the G7. So as we progress and learn more about the guitar in future videos and lessons, we're going to talk more about building those chords out to bigger and bigger ideas and hoping that we can do some really cool things with those. All right, so to our host, Alan, are there any questions out there from the students that you guys might have about guitar or anything that I played or music in general? I don't know.
I will go ahead and unmute everyone. So if anyone has a question, you know, they're welcome to ask. Let me see. Okay. Now everyone is unmuted.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Is there any questions that you guys might have? Anyone has? No questions.
You
gonna learn anything else? Like,
what's that?
Can you teach? Do you know? Can you teach us an E chord?
Okay, yeah. So,
like
what kind of chord do you want to hear, or what kind of chord?
Like you like E chord. Could you teach us an E chord?
Do you want a chord that is, so are you a little bit more advanced where you want a bigger chord, or do you just want a new chord that's similar to that?
No, I just want to see like what like you recommend doing an E chord. I can play an E chord.
Ethan.
Another chord, so that idea that I talked about is kind of simplifying chords, and what I think your question was is, so another chord that we can talk about is, so we have G7 and we have F7, right? And so the next chord that we can talk about is, this one is a little bit trickier. So we're going to take our pointer finger, right? And we're going to put it between, on the first fret, we're going to go on this second string right here. So we count 1, 2, and so this guy right here is our second string. We're going to go to the first fret right there, and we're going to place our left pointer finger. And it's going to be like this. And now this is a C major chord. Now with this chord, it's a bit different because here, you don't have to worry about touching the other strings so much because you're kind of on the edge of everything. But this one is different. Now I want you to pretend like the other two strings are hot lava, and if you touch them, you know that game, where you would you would play a surgeon. Oh man, what is that? What is the name of that game? Well, you would take things out and you'd play a surgeon, and it would beep if you messed up or touched one of the edges. I'll think of it in a second. I can't remember. But anyways, so it's the same thing here. If you touch this string, you're going to get this
It's called
muted sound.
Operation, I'm pretty sure.
Operation. That's great. Okay, great. All right. Am I answering the questions that you wanted to, right? About a new chord? All right.
Just like a C chord or something.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll talk about a C chord, and we'll talk about a full C chord, and then multiple C chords for those of you who are super advanced. Okay. So pointer finger, this guy right here, and we're here on the first fret between these two strings. So now you don't want any noise. You don't want to be touching the other strings, because what happens when you do that, you can either play a chord that's not intended. A C sus is a beautiful chord, but we're looking for just a C. That's if you push down really hard with those guys right there. And we'll get to that later. But for right now, we just want a C chord. So right there, we got the C chord. Okay. We have G, C, and E. All right. So after we get those, and it's just these three strings. So now for those of you who are very advanced, or maybe further along than everyone else, we're going to talk about a full C chord. So a full C chord is composed of C, E, and G. And so now what we're doing is we're taking pointer finger, middle finger, and our ring finger or third finger, first, second, and third. And we're placing them, so our pointer finger is going to go on the first fret of the second string, like such. And now here comes the tricky part, and this might be really hard for some of you who are just beginning. And we're putting our middle finger right here on the second fret of the fourth string. And on the fifth string, we're taking our ring finger and putting it on the C or the third fret here. And so now you have 5 notes that you are playing all together, and you're starting from the fifth string and going and strumming on down. And you get a more full C. And now, so something really, 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 really advanced is you're saying, well, okay, we have one more finger here. What can we do with that? Well, there's a lot of things. So from here, you can alter chords. So you have a C7, you have a C add 9, you have a C with a G on top, which is kind of popular in country styles. You have a C major 7, a C sus, right? And so from there, for those of you who are really advanced, that pinky kind of serve and add some extensions on there. You kind of play around with that and putting it in different places. So you get some cool outlandish styles, maybe some really, ooh, that's kind of weird, some experimental jazz stuff going on right there, but that chord's really common because you hear it, you know. All right, so what I want to see are, for those of you who are beginners, being able to play G, C, E, or the simple C major chord on these top 3 strings. For those of you who are a little more advanced, I would like to see adding in the 2 other fingers that we talked about, middle finger, 2nd fret of 4th string, and ring finger on 3rd fret of 5th string, and these 5 strings right here. For those of you who are really advanced, I'd like to see you adding some extensions on there, whether that's the D, so that'd be an add 9, or taking a finger away, and you have a C major 7, kind of a pretty chord. For those of you who like Post Malone on one of his new songs, I can't remember what it was, but I believe it's Circles, it goes something like that. And so you start to hear these sounds that you recognize in your songs you listen to. All right, so we'll take it back to Alan for maybe any other questions. I hope I answered your questions that you had about the C chord, and for everyone else, I hope that you're getting something out of these very basic chords. And for those of you who are a little more advanced, I hope you're getting something out of those bigger chords. So do we have any more, are there any more questions out there?
Thank you.
Yeah, anytime, please, any questions that you guys have asked. Are there any, does anyone else have any more questions out there? Do you guys have any questions? Anyone? Any more questions?
Looks like not at the moment.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Alan, is there anything else you'd like me to talk about?
Nothing in particular today. I will probably close today's lesson with, you know, another nice song for the, you know, for the students attending and for everyone attending. And maybe next week, the next workshop, we can, you know, we can start with the actual lessons, the PDFs for beginners.
That would be great. That would be great. Okay. All right. Well, I can recommend to everyone the textbook that I'm using and the PDFs that Alan is talking about come from Hal Leonard Guitar Complete Edition. And I can send him the link on that if you guys really want to follow along. I believe they give out the first like 10 or 15 pages for free on like Amazon or Apple Bookstore. But with that, I can show you guys the first few pages. And if you like what you see in the book and it's a direction you want to take, then you can purchase the book and follow along. But for the most part, these first few lessons, we'll just be going over the first few pages as a group session. Okay, so we got one more song. Let me think of something fun that we can do. Plug in there. Oh, we should probably turn this on. Okay, so this one is kind of a cheesy one. You hear it a lot on television shows and things like that. But this one is called Careless Whisper, and I'm just gonna play the melody to that and the chords. So hope you guys enjoy it. All right. So that was a pop arrangement of a famous song that you probably heard played on the saxophone. But anyways,
How long
any,
have you been playing for?
what's that?
How long have you been playing for?
I've been playing for about 20 years.
What age were you when you started?
I was about 4 or 5. I think I started formal instruction when I was about 6 or 7 years old. So I have unofficially had a guitar in my hand for about 20 years, and then I started taking formal lessons when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade.
Well, awesome. Thanks so much, Cole. And thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks everyone for attending today. We're going to upload some PDFs on our website with those lessons. So starting next week with the next guitar workshop, we can dig more into the actual teaching and, teach you guys some new notes, maybe new chords and all that. But we'll leave it up to Cole. So thanks again, everyone. Bye. Good to see you.
Bye, thank you.
You're very welcome. I think you can end the meeting on your end, Cole.
Okay. All right. So I just click end meeting right there.
Right.
And then did you want to talk on phone and follow up about a plan for next week, or how did you want to handle that?
Sure. We can touch base later on, or yeah, sure.
Sounds great. All right.